Head for high ground is the title of today's video and the moral of the story. And heading for high ground is what a lot of people in Florida are doing right now, trying to escape the incoming Category 5 hurricane. And my thoughts and prayers go out to all those people. I hope that they stay safe and that everything works out for them in the best way possible. And there's an article in the Wall Street Journal that's been covering the home insurance claims that people are now trying to make from Hurricane Helene and just in the fallout of that, and what is actually happening with these claims and how people are being denied. No surprise there. Homeowners are rushing to file insurance claims after Hurricane Helene left a trail of destruction across 6 states. Many of them will likely be left empty-handed. Property insurers in recent years have hollowed out coverage and sharply increased rates to make up for steep underwriting losses driven by natural disasters. Owners of homes and businesses slammed by Helene could be in for a nasty shock when they check the small print of their policies. Helene is one of the deadliest and most destructive hurricanes to hit the U.S. in recent years, with property damage pegged at $15 billion to $26 billion by ratings firm Moody's. The insured loss, however, will likely be at the lower end of initial forecasts, which range from around $5 billion to $15 billion, according to John Neal, Chief Executive of Lloyd's of London Insurer Marketplace. Much of the shortfall is because typical home insurance policies don't cover flooding, and most people don't have separate flood insurance. Another reason is an increase in coverage restrictions. I've had a ton of phone calls from people with relatively small losses that are going to fall under the deductible and not be covered, said Meg O'Toole Herman, owner of a Goosehead insurance agency in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And what insurance companies have been doing the past few years is raising the deductibles so that that threshold for coverage to kick in is higher. So if the deductible is $10,000, the damage has to be 10,001 penny for the insurance to cover all of it. But what typically happens, if any homeowners are watching this and they've had to file a claim, is that if your deductible is $10,000, that insurance claim adjuster will usually find a way to make the damage come in at $9,999.99, just under the deductible, so that the insurer doesn't have to pay. What do you know? It magically is just under what the deductible is and saves the company from having to pay that claim. But they will still collect your premiums. And so because this is happening so much that the deductibles are being raised and insurance companies are finding ways to not pay out on these claims, a great way to protect yourself is to get a public adjuster. They will take a percentage of the claim if they win it, but these guys are really good. They're good at their jobs. Most of these public adjusters spent the first part of their career as claims adjusters for companies, so they know the game, they know what to look for, and they're really good. They are basically consumer advocates working for consumers looking to protect the insured. And it's only fair that these insurers hold up their end of the bargain as well, and public adjusters will be your advocate to make sure that they do. Another thing that you can do to arm yourself, just to equip yourself and be informed, is go on some websites. Estimatorflorida.com is a good one. HomeWise, spelled with a Y, is a good website, and intrabuild.com is another one. And these websites have fields where you can enter your zip code, all the materials, everything that you are trying to calculate to find out what the estimate of the repair costs for your damage for your house is. And it is on a zip code basis because material and labor vary from zip code to zip code. So these are some good websites that you can go on. They may come up with different estimates, so you can find the average number among those results. And just equip yourself, and just to know that you're not helpless in this situation, that you have some control and some power also. The hurricane and storm surge path proved that no one is safe, said Alexander Glickman, global head of real estate and hospitality at insurance broker Arthur J. Gallagher. Is every region in the United States hurricane prone? Not that I know of. So, what are some states with the fewest natural disasters? Michigan is considered to be the state with the least natural disasters, with a minor chance of earthquakes, tornadoes, or hurricanes. Any natural disasters that have happened there have usually been less intense than they might be in other states. Other states that have a low risk of natural disasters include Minnesota, Illinois. Indiana has had less than one declared disaster per year since 2021. Vermont is on the list. Ohio has had only 59 declared disasters since 1953, with floods and severe storms being the most common. I think that is 0.83 natural disasters per year, so not even one per year in Ohio. Colorado is on the list, although in mountain towns there can be flash floods, and there was one a few years ago that washed away some homes. So it is possible, but usually in the mountain regions, snowfall is the most common natural disaster. But any kind of bodily injury or damage to your home or your car can be easily avoided in a snowstorm as long as you're driving safely. There's nothing that can really happen in a snowstorm. Just stay home and sit on the couch and watch a movie. Snow can get heavy on roofs and collapse them in. That is possible, but that is very, very rare. Maryland is on the list. Maine, New Hampshire, Montana, and Wisconsin has been disaster-free since 2021, though precipitation has increased by 17% since 1950, which could mean more flooding in rivers and low-lying areas. So flash floods do happen in places below the national average, but these are generally 50 and 100-year flood zones. So it's very unlikely that this will ever happen. It's been 100 years. It was in the 1920s, the early 20s, the last time that Tampa was hit with a hurricane. So it definitely happens. It's possible, but make sure you have flood insurance in case this ever happens. And also, if you live in a flood zone, your lender will typically require you to have flood insurance. When I owned a home many years ago, it was a primary residence. We lived in a flood zone and we had to have flood insurance, and it was about $150 a month, but it was in a 50-year flood zone. So our lender required us to have that. And so it comes down to this. If you want to avoid rising premiums and high deductibles that rob you from paying down your mortgage principal or making other investments, you may want to look to some states on this list to live in and stay out of the flood zones in those states. And as I mentioned in a previous video, less can be more when it comes to owning a home. Home sizes have increased over time, and the amount of living space per person has nearly doubled. In 1790, the average home size was 831 square feet. In 1910, the average home size was 945 square feet. In 1980, the median size of a new home was 1,595 square feet. In 2015, the median size of a new home reached an all-time high of 2,467 square feet. And in 2019, the average home size was 2,496 square feet. These days, anything less than 1,500 square feet is generally considered a starter home. But ask yourself, how much home do you really need, especially if your household is 4 people and under. If it's you, a domestic partner, and a couple dogs, 1,500 square feet is plenty. It probably has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And I also mentioned in a previous video that the median home size has shrunk 128 square feet, or 6% smaller since 5 years ago. And it has risen in price $125,000, or 39% in the past 5 years. So if you're buying a new build, you are getting way less for your money. And remember that the bigger the house, the more square feet of material you have to replace in case of an insurable event. If there's a burst pipe, more sheetrock, more drywall, more subfloor, more joists, more LVP, more carpet to replace. If there's any kind of windstorm or hail, more 3-tab shingles. And of course, that's why we have home insurance. But going back to the beginning of the video with the statistics about insurers raising deductibles and doing this because they want to make it more difficult for them to pay out and have the insured foot the bill for the damage. The fewer square feet of material, the less exposure you have to any denied insurance claims. Another example of not getting more for your money is in Davenport. Home sizes have increased 11% and prices have increased 58% since 2019. So even new builds in Davenport, Iowa, which is one of the markets on this channel where you can get a great house for around a 3 PIR. If it's a new build, you're not going to get that affordability. And so what we've seen over the pandemic is ultra low mortgage rates coupled with the ability to work from home and a need for more space because people are working from home. That fueled a housing boom. That caused prices to skyrocket. And when it was all over, because the Federal Reserve raised interest rates to lower the inflation, mortgage rates went up. And so we were left with high home prices and high mortgage rates, which has caused an affordability crisis. And both of those have improved over the past month or so as interest rates are coming down, as well as home prices. So to wrap this video up, I really want to extend my condolences to all of the people that are leaving Florida right now, trying to get out of the path of the hurricane. I really hope that they're okay. And I think that this should be something that the rest of us look at and really consider when we are looking to buy a home somewhere. Look at the weather patterns. Look at the risk that is associated with the geography and the location in the region of the country. Florida is really beautiful most of the time, but when it gets bad, it gets really bad. And insurers are just not gonna have your back these days. They want to maintain their profit margins, and it's unfortunate that they are more profit-centric than people-centric. And this is just something that that Floridians are going to have to ride out. And I hope that they are able to get their claims approved and recover from this and move on with their lives as best as they can. So this is something that we should all look at and look in these states that were on the list that I read, which are states that my markets that I show you on this channel reside in. One of the reasons why these markets are so affordable is because they don't have many natural disasters. They're pretty stable weather-wise. And taking into account severe weather patterns and natural disasters would probably behoove a potential home buyer. So on that note, I'll end the video. And if you're new to this channel, thanks for tuning in and giving it a chance. I hope you found it useful. If you are a subscriber, thanks for continuing to come back, and I hope that this brings you value also. Remember to like, subscribe, comment below, and don't give up when you can get ahead.